upon our lives. And certainly if we don't know the call, then we can't put the all in the call. So it wasn't so much that Peter and Paul were different, because the same God that worked in Peter was working in Paul. Now the only distinction would be the amount of grace. And the Apostle Paul, in writing to the Corinthians, he said, "But by the grace of God, I am what I am. And his grace which was bestowed upon me was not in vain. But I labored more abundantly than they all. Yet not I, but the grace of God which was with me." It's a grace factor that God is working in us at all. And then it's a grace factor determining our direction. Some people are called to Wall Street, and it takes a certain grace to be there. Some are called to the hood. It takes a certain grace to be there. Some are called to the intellectuals. It takes a grace to be there. Some are called to the uncouth and all those MFers out there. And it takes a certain amount of grace to be there. Now, in Philippians chapter 2, pull in there at verse 13. For it is God. Can we say it together? For it is God. For it is God. It's not your old, what is deoxyribonucleic acid? It's not the old DNA. It's God. That we become partakers of his divine nature that's working in us. Glory to God. It's a revelation of who he is that's working in us. The revelation that produces the inspiration for the communication and application and demonstration. It is God that's working in you, both to will and to do of his good pleasure. It's something he wants in us and out of us. So he sends his grace, which is Christ, full of grace and truth, that teaches us, as we've heard. And the first thing that's going to happen when we're taught by the grace of God is that we're going to change our minds about our ways. Our communications will change. We'll be immediately delivered from intellectualization syndrome. We'll undiscover ourselves. We won't think so much of ourselves anymore. Because after all, ain't nothing to us. So why are you spending so much time studying nothing? You think you're beautiful. No. He beautifies the meek with salvation. I haven't seen so many beautifully ugly women in my life. Tall, dark, and handsome men that look like who would have thought of it? Graceless, functional, non-functioning. But thanks be to God, who worketh in us both to will and to do what brings pleasure to him. Not to us, but to him. You would have thought. You would have thought. But go to Ephesians with it. Chapter 3. Ephesians 3, and you know where we're going, verse 20. Now unto him, the God that's working in us. Unto him, that same God that's working in us. Unto him, oh Lord, the one that's working in us. That is able, just one of the ables, who is able to do exceeding. It didn't say exceedingly like some of us say. It said exceeding abundantly. If it was abundantly, that would be beautiful, but it exceeds that. It's out of this world. Some folks say the sky is the limit. I don't know. I don't know where you got that from. The sky is not the limit. The throne is the limit. The throne of grace is the limit. When we obtain mercy and mercy does what? Rejoice against what? So if we're getting our behinds whooped because we didn't change our mind, get to the throne of grace and get some mercy that rejoice against judgment so he can take that paddle off your way in. You think your wife is your problem. No, it's your mind is your own problem. You think your husband is the problem, but it's your own mind. You think your employee is your problem, but it's your mind. Do exceeding abundantly above all that we ask or think. So what does this mean? We got to get to asking. And we got to get to thinking. So he can work in accordance. Because it says according. It's according to the power that worketh in you. Now this word worketh is the same as effectually. It's the same as mighty. It worketh. Now, I don't want to wake up one morning and say God's not working in me. I don't want to wake up one morning and say I don't know what I'm going to do today. This is why the first thing a person ought to do when they open their eyes is go pray. Not drink a cup of coffee, but go pray. If we don't pray first thing, we mess up all day long. We're working mechanically. We're doing it because we know how to do it. But it's graceless. And we don't have anything to teach. Or we can go preach it, but we can't teach it. Because when you teach, then we got to be like Haggai. Then spoke Haggai, the Lord's messenger. Where? In the Lord's message. In other words, if we ain't in what we say, you may as well don't say it. You might get people bucking and jumping and kicking holes in drums and turning over chairs. But they're not going to change. They're going to stay the same. We got to be in it ourselves. Only say what you're living. And then shut the hell up about the rest. Because it ain't nothing but hell coming out. In Jesus' name I pray. Come on, let's stand on our feet.